All right, I don't typically do this, but I'm going to plug some stuff at the top of the video here. If you don't care about this kind of stuff, you can skip to like a minute and 15 seconds in. But these are some links to other socials that I have because I was checking. I do have a Twitch account. It has a grand total of 42 followers right now, and the last time I used it was like a year ago. But you know, moving forward in the future, I might do stuff on there. So if you want to follow me on Twitch, that's the link up there. It's just infomercial_Twitch. I am also on Twitter, although not as much nowadays, because man, what a dumpster fire on there, right? So there's my Twitter if you want to follow me on Twitter. I'm on Blue Sky, which is like a different Twitter. It's Twitter, but it has better moderation and less bots, and you know, overall less of the janky nonsense that's going on Twitter right now. So if you follow me on YouTube, you can go ahead and follow me other places too, and I will primarily be putting stuff up here on YouTube, but if I ever do stuff on Twitch, like, I'll let you know, and then you'll know where to find me. Anyways, that's it for that section. Probably the reason you clicked on this video was because of the title. You want to know if you get invaded when you're playing co-op with your friends, you're playing Elden Ring, you want to know, how do I get rid of this guy as quick as possible? Well, I'm going to tell you some secrets, and I'm going to show you some clips, and just kind of in general talk about it from like an invader's perspective, like what is really, really challenging for me, what tends to take me out really quickly. But before we get into all of that, these are the stats for the build that we're doing. It's a bit of a weird build. Level 80, it's like an intelligence arcane build. We got 40 vigor, which is really low. I would rather have it higher than that. But also look at our talisman setup. Look at how bad that is. We're using 3 out of the 4 slots we're dedicating to raising our stats so that we can use mainly Bloodflame Talons, because Bloodflame Talons true combos into all sorts of interesting stuff. So I'm going to show you a little bit about that. But in general, if I am invading somebody, what do I just hate to see? And what makes it difficult for me to win that invasion? I think the first thing would be just the fact that like co-opers always have the numbers advantage, and so if people stick together, that makes it tough. And these guys who you're seeing kind of in the video right now did a good job of that. They didn't split up to try and fight me. They didn't try to take me on their own, and that was smart, because invaders, if they know what they're doing, they want a one-on-one fight. Because they have made a build specifically to be good at and to give them an advantage when it comes to a one-on-one fight with another player. Most people don't make their builds like this, right? Because you don't have to in order to play the game. In fact, if you make a build that is specifically good for one-on-one fights with other human players, chances are it's going to be kind of a weird build. Like the one that I have right here, it's kind of hard to play the rest of the game with it. Like it's good in invasions, but for other stuff it's maybe not so good. But I want this one-on-one fight, like what you're seeing in front of you right now is the ideal situation for me, right? This guy, it's just me and him, right? And I spent hours making this build so that I could win a fight like this. So if it's at all possible, stick together and don't just run off like on your own, because if it's one-on-one, the invader is probably going to have an advantage over you if they know what they're doing, right? Some people invade and they just don't really understand what they're doing, and that's kind of a whole different story. But in general, if you stick together, you'll be fine. Here's a good example of how Bloodflame Talons can combo into stuff. Bloodflame Talon into the Milady R2 is a true combo, provided that you are that you have max casting speed, which we do, right? We have that 40 dexterity in the Radigan's icon. But if people get caught by the Bloodflame Talon, they will get caught by the Milady R2. Both hits of it too, which means that you can stack up some pretty cool damage. That's kind of what this build is all about. But another thing that you should avoid doing if you do kind of find yourself in a situation like this where you are being chased by an invader, it's a one-on-one scenario, your co-op partner's gone, don't panic roll, because especially this weapon, especially the Milady, it's a roll catching machine. It is a like 0 IQ, turn your brain off, just do a running R2, and you'll catch people 60% of the time, I think, which is huge, right? Because roll catching is typically kind of a tricky thing to master. Like, you have to think about like your latency, your connection to the other player. You have to think about timing it. Different weapons have different timings. You have to start your like attack animation before people start rolling. So there's a bit of like guesswork happening. But the running R2 on the Milady is just a double swing, right? There's a slash and then there's kind of like a poke. And you just hit it and you catch people. And a lot of people, like, they roll when they're in that one-on-one scenario because they want those iframes. They don't want to get hit by an invader, so they just kind of start rolling. Don't do that, right? A good invader, again, this is, you know, people who know what they're doing and who have a little bit of experience in it, want you to panic roll. They want you to keep rolling. They don't want you to really like just turn around and fight them. That would actually create more of a problem for the invader if you did that. So just turn around and start swinging, right? Don't roll. Jumping actually helps. Like, running and jumping will create more distance from another person usually than just rolling, and that might put you sort of out of the range of their attacks. But just running away in general is not really a great idea if you're facing an invader, because they probably have tools to like run you down and catch up to you, exactly kind of like what we're seeing in front of us right now. If, you know, he ran straight past a site of grace there, like, you could just fight me at the grace checkpoint. If you die, you just respawn right where you were, right? You don't lose anything. So if you really like don't want to fight somebody one-on-one, just like going back to the checkpoint is a good idea, because then you're not losing anything. Another thing that you should avoid doing is using the same attacks over and over again. We're fighting a guy with a moon veil, you know, big surprise. You hardly ever see that weapon, right? Just kidding. Lots of people use it because it's a good weapon. But you see it all the time, and really, he was sort of using that Ash of War over and over again, to the point where I knew what he was going to do next. You know, I understood when he was going to use that. It was easy for me to dodge it. Again, we have kind of another example here of that true combo, Blood Flame Talon into the Milady R2. A lot of damage, right? Even at this level, we're like level 80 plus 17 weapons. And he was hitting R1 on that halberd, which is a good attack. It's a great weapon. You know, he was able to interrupt my attacks, but he did it twice, and then I guessed that he was going to do it a third time, and my guess was correct. This is the guy that we previously invaded, the guy who was just running away from the checkpoint. He's got another buddy with him now, and they actually get me this time, right? Because they stuck together, because they weren't afraid of working together, working as a team. That's what you got to do. If you kind of embrace that teamwork aspect, you can take out a lot of invaders. Again, kind of a cool clip here, mainly just for me. Wing Stance is great. I love Wing Stance. We need more weapons like Wing Stance, because you can stance break people and you can get criticals. They ended up kind of kicking my ass, but you know, kind of a cool clip. Okay, the last thing that I will say here is there are some invaders who will show you mercy in certain circumstances, and I'm going to show you the circumstances where I do that. But you also shouldn't. You should prioritize the invader, and don't be afraid of like the PvE enemies in the level, because chances are the invader is going to be the most dangerous thing in the level when they spawn in. Like, these guys are hanging back on this bridge here, and I mean, what's on this bridge? There's like two little Albinoric guys casting spells, you could take them out easy. They're really not going to be that much help to me. But they hung out at the entrance to that bridge, I mean, for probably a couple minutes before we rolled this clip. Because they didn't want to run in and fight me when I was sitting next to another enemy. Doesn't matter how weak the enemy was. You should prioritize the invader. You know, that is the person who you need to take care of, and you shouldn't be afraid of like aggroing enemies or kind of chasing them down. As long as you stick together, again, you're still going to have like the advantage there. But I will show people mercy. This guy just didn't want to fight, and that's no fun for me, right? He does kind of like a silly little emote here. If you do a goofy emote, if you lay on the ground, if you throw something down, if you give me an item, I'll leave. I'll leave you alone. If you pay me off, people have done that. They've dropped like Lord's runes and stuff. 50k runes. I'll leave you alone for 50k runes. Why not? Of course I will. All right, that's the build. That's the video. That's how you beat invaders. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it.